Hello, and welcome to part two of our webinar series where we'll be covering paid social, primarily Facebook and Instagram, and sharing insights and learnings from over a decade of paid social management from myself, Digital Marketing Director at Pattrns. And we'll be hoping that you leave this webinar with an understanding of when best to use paid social to achieve your business goals, and also how best to utilize paid social, being ad formats, audiences, and campaign structure. So, to give you a bit of background about Pattrns, we've actually worked with over 150 different partners across a huge range of industries. And a few examples here, we've worked with WD-40 on their paid search, paid social, and influencer activity, to Matches Fashion, a huge luxury fashion retailer, on their paid social activity, and also worked on acquisition strategies that feature paid search and paid social, SEO, influencers, and email for the likes of Lopay, Noma, and Magazine Supermarket. So covering everything from lead generation to e-commerce sales to B2B services. So really interesting verticals and a lot of learnings that we've picked up over the years that we'd like to share with you today and throughout the entire webinar series. Now, every business requires a bespoke strategy, but there are some common rules that we apply to almost every partner that we work with, and they're what we'll be sharing with you today. We are a certified partner, and what this means is, as an agency, all of our team and practitioners are certified to industry best practices. So we are a Meta business partner. We have a number of staff that are Blueprint certified, which is Facebook or Meta's certification level. We are Shopify partners, and we are Google Ads partners as well, indicating that we have been able to consistently deliver growth for businesses. We've been able to follow industry best practices, and again, we have a huge percentage of our team that are certified as high as possible across a number of these platforms. Now, to get started, Facebook is much bigger than Facebook. Now, Facebook is part of a much larger ecosystem of platforms or channels, and this is what makes Facebook ads such an effective advertising platform. Now, Facebook own Oculus, they own Facebook Messenger, they own Giphy, Facebook Marketplace, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. Now, these platforms are all capturing data, signals about your online usage to build a profile. And if you have a quick think about how much information, and it can be a little bit spooky, how much information Facebook has on you based on your usage of these platforms, you can understand how effective the audience profiling targeting can be. So Facebook has a great wealth of knowledge based on the pages that you engage with, the types of content that you like, share, comment on, the business pages you follow, the messages that you're sending. Instagram has the same, the stories, the reels, the posts that you're engaging with, what creators. And outside of all of this, the Facebook tag that most advertisers utilize to record the effect of their advertising, so conversions, leads, newsletter signups, whatever that may be, is also passing data back to Facebook. So a large percentage of the websites that you visit are likely to have a Facebook tag, which again is feeding back to Facebook your activity outside of that Facebook.com, and again feeding into this Facebook ecosystem. So really powerful tool. They have access to a lot of data, which really does set this platform apart from a lot of the other paid social channels. And of course, they have a huge user base. A majority of your users will be available on Facebook or Instagram. I believe in 2021, there's over 2.1 billion users across these platforms. So it's a great place to find users, and there's a lot of data available to help you find the right user. Now, one of the most common questions we are asked by businesses that we partner with is, when should we be using Google and when should we be using Facebook? And also, what's the difference? Now, the difference between the two is quite clear, and it really centers around how a user engages with both sites. Google is primarily given intent, as we call it, And a user on Google is very, very clear, very explicit about what they are looking for. If I was looking for a swim school, for example, in my local area, I would go onto Google and I would type in, I need a swim school in London for my 6-year-old. Really, really clear, makes it very efficient and effective for a swim school to get in front of the right person at the right time, the right service, because the intent is clear. Nothing is assumed. Whereas on Facebook, people aren't on Facebook looking for a service. You are assuming their intent or their relevance to your service based on all of those signals the previous platforms are gathering as part of that Facebook ecosystem. So the main difference for us in how we use them is Google is given intent and Facebook is inferred intent based on user behaviors, user signals, and online browsing behavior. Another key difference between the two platforms is how users engage with them. Nobody goes onto Google to stay on Google. You're asking to be taken somewhere. You want to see relevant results, you want to be taken to a relevant website, and you expect to end your journey off of Google. If I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm there to be entertained, I'm there to be engaged, I'm there to be educated. I'm not primarily looking to be taken off of the platform. And this key differentiator really feeds into how we use Facebook, when to use it, and also the creative we use. The creative that you're deploying on Facebook, if your goal is to drive conversions, whether that's purchases, newsletter signups, lead form submissions, has to be compelling enough to pull somebody off of Facebook away from an environment they have personally curated. You know, they have their friends, they have their family, they have the businesses, they have their interests that they flagged, that they've liked, that they've followed. And your advert needs to be strong enough to pull them away from all of that. Your offer, your video, your image, the whole package. So you really need to consider this when branching out into Facebook. However, with all of those audience signals that are available, and with the machine learning and the bidding and bidding strategies that are available, we do see some extremely positive results, and it is a very effective platform to pull users away from to complete a purchase. So they're the two main differences between the two. In terms of when to use each platform, it really depends on your business goals and where your users are in that path to purchase or path to conversion. And that's where we'll start diving into a bit more detail in the following slides. So, when to use paid social and how to use it. We focus on a full funnel strategy and work with businesses to identify where are they falling short or where are there opportunities to grow in their space, in their market. Now, we use a hearts, minds, and actions funnel to segment this. So primarily, if you want to win over the hearts, you're trying to grow brand awareness. You want to make new users aware of your brand, possibly not to take a direct action at this point. We want eyeballs and we want new users to be aware. So this is where we usually use high impact video formats because we want to make people aware of a brand or even a product. We then would move further down the funnel and closer to that conversion point and look to win over people's minds. And this is where we usually want to drive quality traffic and direct users from Facebook or Instagram or any paid social channel onto your website to begin your sales process. So whether that is nurturing or newsletter signups or educational content on your website, we've got to move them from Facebook into that journey. And this is where we tend to highlight product specific information, features, benefits. Then we have the final phase of the funnel, which is what we call the action stage. And this is where we are leading with offer-based ads that are designed to encourage an action. This could be, again, newsletter signups, purchases, conversions, whatever it may be. And we start to bring that funnel to a close as we have triggered brand awareness. We've then directed users onto the website to take an action, and then redirected users to take an action and convert and hopefully drive some more revenue for your business. Now, each of these stages of the funnel requires different creative, different messaging, different campaign types. So you really do want to take your time in planning the builds of these and how you're going to measure success here. So we'll go through some of our best practices and our rules of thumb. So for brand awareness, we typically use video creative, and that's because it allows us to be really direct and cover a range of benefits for our service or our brand. Got a couple of examples here. One of our recent partners, they had 20 years of experience in the industry, which is a huge milestone and a really great USP to put in front of potential users. Really solidifies the brand as a trusted business. We've got another one here where we're working with a football academy, and the USP in the brand awareness was that actually this academy has coaches for all levels and also a variety of age groups. And again, that sets them apart from a lot of their competitors. And one of the best places to start to look for content for this brand awareness piece is competitive advantages. What sets your business apart from the others? Because when it comes to the point of a user choosing a service or choosing a brand to work with, these are the points that will reinforce and start to push them towards your business. KPIs here aren't conversions. We're not looking for a CPA. We're not looking for a cost per lead or a cost per conversion. We're looking for reach, ad recall, or video viewed are common examples. We can also look at impressions, but ad recall is a really interesting one for paid social, specifically Facebook. It's a metric where Facebook will survey users that have been exposed to your ad, so your target audience, and begin to ask them questions about, have you recently seen an advert for X brand? And it will tally up all the results, forecast and model these appropriately, and begin to give you an actual cost per ad recall. And you can then start to calculate, okay, well, how much is it costing me to make new users aware of my brand and to recall my brand at a later date? Also a great indicator for how catchy and engaging your creative is. Because if nobody's recalling your ad, you have a good idea that it's maybe not resonating the message, or maybe you're targeting the wrong users. Reach is a really interesting metric and one that you definitely want to be reviewing on a regular basis. Now, impressions is a metric a lot of people are probably quite familiar with. Reach is a little bit different because it's not available on all platforms. Your reach is the number of individual users that have been served your ad, and impressions is the number of impressions your ad has received. So a good way to think of this is if your ad reached 10 people or had a reach of 10 and your impression count was 100, everybody has seen your ad 10 times. And this is where we can start getting into more complicated theories around marketing about frequency and efficiency, in that, do we need to show someone an ad 5 times for them to recall it, or do we need to show it to them 10 times? And if we don't need to show it to them 10 times, what's the lowest amount that we can serve this ad to drive an effective ad recall? Percentage video viewed, quite a clear metric. This is the percentage of your video that a user consumed. So you can start to get an idea of, where's the drop-off point? How engaging is my content? And how many of my USPs or competitive advantages did they acknowledge or did they view? If all of your competitive advantages are served at the end of the video and people are dropping off at 50% or at the 50% mark, you get a good idea that actually a lot of these views maybe aren't having the impact that you want in driving brand awareness. So really good metric for measuring effectiveness, and great to feed into future iterations of your activity. We are always testing and optimizing our ads. We're always taking the learnings from month 1 and applying them to month 2 and repeating that process to try and improve or reduce the cost per ad recall, to try and improve the percentage of the video viewed, to try and improve click-through rate, conversion rates, and these metrics. Paid social, it's not a set and forget strategy. You need to continually be reviewing your ad creative and your audiences. This doesn't have to be monthly. This can be a quarterly process depending on the amount of volume and data that you're collecting. So please don't be intimidated by the amount of work that could be required. It really does need to be tailored to your requirements, your audiences, and also your resource availability, whether you're using freelancers to handle your creative production, or whether you've got an in-house team. And below, we've got just 4 example audiences that you could target in a brand awareness campaign. We would always recommend you start using your own data. So opening up Google Analytics or Shopify or Wix or whatever platform you are capturing data on your customers in, and identify either a good place to start is which audience is the highest value or which audience is the most likely to convert. And from here, you can try and replicate that audience on Facebook ads, whether that's a certain age group, certain gender, certain location. But outside of that, you can target things like parental status, interests, so pages that they followed, pages that they've liked. You can even target a number of competitor brands, which is a really good one for growing your market share, and the ABC demographics, so very similar to TV, radio advertising. So there we have the hearts for brand awareness stage. Minds. So we've spoken about just getting more eyeballs on your brand, getting your brand in front of more people. But what about moving these people from that awareness stage closer to taking an action and driving some revenue for your business? Now, at this middle stage, we often use an ad format called carousels. We'd recommend a lot of advertisers start here. It's a really interesting format and it is very, very engaging. It gives you an opportunity as a business to highlight your 4 USPs in something called sequential ad messaging. So we can show you benefit 1, we can show you benefit 2, which may complement benefit 1, we can show you benefit 3, benefit 4. Here we've got a really good example for one of the WD-40 brands, 1001 Carpet Care. And we are not only highlighting the effectiveness, we're also highlighting the sense. So really, really great for highlighting a number of benefits and not just focusing on one. And at the end, we've got quite a clear branding card there. So the products, tagline, and the logo there. So really good. What I would recommend, an area we've seen a lot of success in, is going through with your customer support team or with your sales reps or through your reviews, identifying what the pain points are or what the objections may be, and trying to address those in the carousel card format through this minds and quality traffic stage, making sure that we're just reducing the friction for onboarding and addressing any of those concerns earlier on. Collection ads is something that's primarily for e-commerce accounts. So if you are selling products on your website, collection ads allow you to take over on the mobile feed a really immersive experience, and you can have a lovely hero image and then show effectively a collection of products. And we like to think of these as a clothes rail. So if you were in a store and you were looking for a coat, you would go to the clothes rail with the coats on, and you would see 10 to 15 other variations. And that's what the collection ad allows you to do. We ran a really good ski campaign for a luxury fashion retailer with a lovely hero image at the top. Took over your screen, and as you open it up, you're then served a collection of relevant products, primarily ski wear and winter wear. And it really does immerse users and pushes them closer to that purchase stage. And again, those same audiences are available throughout the funnel. So parents, interests, demographics, competitors, there's income-based audiences. You can also activate your own first-party data. You can also start to build lookalikes if you've got a big enough audience pool. So that is feeding users from your CRM. Maybe that's HubSpot, maybe that's Salesforce, plugging that into Facebook and saying, well, look, here's the email addresses of 1,000 customers. Can you find another 1,000 users that exhibit the same online browsing behavior, the same signals on that Facebook ecosystem as these users, and let's start targeting them. They're called lookalike audiences, and it's a really, really effective audience for scaling up quite quickly. Now, if we move on to action. So this is typically the bottom of the funnel, and if you've been running the brand awareness and the middle of funnel elements, this is where you begin to collect and see a bit of a return. And again, here we've got a great example of catalog ads. You can run static, you can run catalogs. Primarily, we would use static ads for service-based businesses. You want to be highlighting clear USPs, sale messaging, and you want users to be taking action. This is where we can be a lot more direct about what we want from the customer. Because we've informed them about the brand, we've shown the social proof, we've educated them throughout the funnel. This is where we want them to take an action. And this is part of the ad sequencing as well. So take into consideration the points that you highlighted in your brand awareness campaigns. What messages, what competitive advantages were you talking about? What USPs were you highlighting in your middle of funnel activity? And then at this point, what's left to say? What is your key draw, and what complements the previous points you mentioned? Is there anything that you want to highlight? Again, think of this as an ad sequence. You are telling a story through these 3 campaigns. And as we said, this isn't a set and forget campaign setup. You're continually testing and optimizing your wording, your imagery here to try and find what resonates best with your customers and what drives the most revenue for your business. It really should be tailored messaging that complements your previous Hearts and Minds campaign. Now, building your first Facebook account. So we've covered a bit of the theory, we've covered the best ways to use it and the ad formats that we would recommend getting started with. Now, the structure is quite clear, especially for a national campaign. For global and international retailers, it may be different. You often want a structure that mirrors the setup of your website. So we're going to start with a campaign that aligns with your marketing goals. We've outlined those 3 marketing goals before. So a good place to start would be, if you needed it, brand awareness campaign. You would want a traffic or minds campaign. You want a sales or conversion action-led campaign. They are the 3 campaigns we would recommend launching with. Recommend that because Facebook will allow you to optimize to specific goals at that campaign level. So from day one, you can say, my brand awareness campaign needs to have a goal or an objective or a target of video views, reach, ad recall, whatever that may be. Traffic could be landing pages. Your conversion or sales or action campaign could be revenue, could be average order value, could be max conversions, could be leads. But that's how we'll structure our campaigns. Within each campaign, you will have an ad set. And ad sets are a way to group audiences. Now, you don't want to cram too many audiences into each ad set because you want to be able to test, optimize, and refine. And having them grouped by audience category is a great place to start. So you could have your first party audience, whether that's lookalikes. You could have another ad set for interests, so interest in similar brands, competitors, things like that. You also have an audience for just demographic and gender, if that's what you'd like to do. So that's a way for you to then see which audience is driving the best results, allocate budget accordingly, change targets, and squeeze as much as you can out of your existing budget. Your campaign is probably going to look something like this, and you can see you've got one Facebook ad account. Within there, we've got an awareness campaign, a traffic campaign, a sales campaign, and we've got different audiences at each ad set level. And then under here, we've got an idea of what ad format would we start with, and we'd recommend you do the same. Video ads at the awareness stage, carousel ads at the traffic, static at the sales. And I think when you look at it like this, you can see why these ad formats sit under each of these pillars. A video ad doesn't have as clear call to actions as the sale campaign. The carousels are probably not as effective as video ads at the awareness stage. There's a lot of testing that can be done. This may not be right for everyone. It's a great place to start based on the experience that we've got. Now, a bit more detail about the audiences that are available, because that really is one of the key reasons to use paid social, is the access to these audiences. You've got custom audiences, and these are completed using your own data input into Facebook. Now, this can be input via email lists. It can be passed to Facebook via the web pixel that you would install in your website. And from there, you can build audiences for certain page views, or how users have engaged with your apps, and also offline events, store visits, uploading newsletter signups, form completions. Then got lookalike audiences, and this is where, based on the data that you have passed, usually in the custom audience format, how can they find, or can they find, users that exhibit similar signals? Core audiences, this is a saved audience, and this will allow you to actually utilize one audience across multiple campaigns. Retargeting, that's a really commonly used one, primarily on e-commerce sites. It's usually one of the first audiences that's utilized on Facebook, so people that have abandoned the cart is a great example. For B2B companies, people that have completed a lead form partially is also a really good example. We've then got engagement audiences, and this is how people engage, including likes, comments, follows on your Facebook or your Instagram page. So again, great way to engage with users that have exhibited a signal or some sort of interest in your business. We've then got Facebook fans and Instagram followers, which are quite self-explanatory, so we won't go into too much detail there. Now, if you're growing your organic following and you're producing high value content and you're seeing a lot of growth there, these could be really, really good audiences to test, to try and squeeze out some revenue from your existing followers. Now, covering the theory on why you would use Facebook and how best to use it, covering the campaign structure and how we would recommend doing it. The final step is probably the most important and is so often overlooked. You need to measure what matters. Now, there are two ways you can measure the effectiveness of your paid social ads on Facebook and Instagram. One is using a pixel, and that is the traditional legacy setup, and uses cookies to record or pass data back to Facebook on how users navigate and engage with your website. So what pages do they look at, scroll depth, what buttons do they click, what actions do they take? That's all fired back to Facebook if the pixel is deployed correctly. Now, there are clear blockers to that, or shortfalls. Anyone using an ad blocker, that can cause problems. People not accepting the cookie policy on your website, it can cause problems. So in a time where we're moving further away from cookies, we are moving towards a cookieless future. There are a lot of resources out there about the options available. Facebook has released something called Conversions API, or CAPI, as it's often referred to. And this is a server-to-server side measurement. And this will pass data directly from your web servers, so whether that's Wix, Shopify, WordPress, whatever platform you're using, wherever the website is hosted, it will pass the data directly back to Meta servers, and it really does fill in some of the gaps that often occur using the pixel based, and it's something that we'd recommend implementing to future-proof your paid social and your website. And actually, if you are speaking to any Facebook reps at the moment, this is probably their biggest recommendation in terms of improving your paid social performance, because the more data you pass, or the more good data you pass back to Facebook, the better the decisions it's able to make to achieve your goals, whether those campaign goals are brand awareness, traffic, or sales. So massively important, and is not as complicated for most advertisers as you may think. There's a lot of out-of-the-box solutions on a lot of websites, and the pixel can be deployed using Google Tag Manager very quickly. Thank you. So I hope that there was a lot of value in that webinar. What I want to do now is actually show you some practical examples of how to build a campaign. What does the platform look like to get everybody started? So I exit this and open up a ads account, and you'll see here it's business.facebook.com is where I've accessed this platform. Empty, no campaigns here, and you can see we've got that structure that we've mentioned: campaigns, ad sets tab, ads, big green button to start creating campaign, and here we pick the objective of our campaign, and you can't edit this at a later date. You would need to create a new campaign. So we'll start with an awareness. Let me just hide this. Start with an awareness campaign. Click continue. And this will pre-populate a lot of the options and best practices for an awareness campaign. Now, a great habit to get into is clear naming conventions or taxonomy. I want to know at a glance what this campaign is doing and who it should be targeting, because it makes it much easier to spot check or audit this activity from time to time. So I want a UK-based campaign. I'm going to add a pipe so that I can segment it when I'm downloading reports. It gives me something to separate by. UK, I'm going to target English speakers. It's an awareness campaign, and it's going to be always on. Cool. Now, special ads categories. This is for credit, employment, housing, social issues, or politics. If you don't fall under any of those, you don't have to select anything. To get this live, we're not going to change any of these settings. We've got the campaign shell created. We're going to go to the ad group level here. And I'm now at the ad set name. Now, I want to group my audiences and my ad sets by audience. So I'm going to name this again, UK, English, awareness. And the audience that I'm going to look for is interests, for example. So, I pick the page that you're advertising from. So if I just put in Pattrns, you can scroll down. Daily budget, really important. Don't want to be causing any overspend here, so please carefully check that. End date, if you are running a seasonal campaign, and start date is fine. And you would pick the audience that you want to target. So I'm checking this is already at the UK. 18 to 65 isn't my target audience. It's actually 25 to 45. All genders. And I want people that are interested in Shopify as a software. So I'm now targeting 25 to 45-year-olds that have shown an interest in Shopify. Might also add in Wix there. If I'm trying to run awareness for an SEO agency or a web development team. And you can also have a look at, I don't know if they've got WordPress in here. We've got WordPress here as well. So have a look, see what's relevant. Languages, I don't want all languages. I want English UK. And that's my audience build. It gives me an estimate here of the audience size, the daily reach based on my results. So if I click next, we've created an awareness campaign. We've selected our audience. And from here, I can upload my videos if I had any. This is pre-populating with one from our media library. And I just want to check. Yep, single image or video is selected here, not carousel, not collection. You'd add your media, add your text, and publish. And that would be it. It's a very straightforward solution. Facebook ads is very user-friendly, especially for getting a basic campaign set up. So if you have any questions at all, we're about to have a live Q&A. Please fire them across. There's no silly questions. We're all here to learn, and we're just covering the basics and fundamentals here. So